Hi everyone, I'm your host Neha and you're tuned into Durian Dreaming, the show that brings you extraordinary stories from seemingly ordinary experiences in Indonesia's fast-paced market. Let's dive into today's conversation with another inspiring guest. Hi everyone, on Durian Dreaming today, we are thrilled to welcome Nanto, a seasoned business leader with a career spanning the giants of the consumer goods industry. From shaping strategies at Procter Gamble to innovating solutions at SC Johnson, Nanto now leads the food and beverage business unit at Kino Indonesia as Chief Commercial Officer. With a knack for spotting trends, building brands, and maybe sneaking in a chocolate break or two, Nanto's journey is as dynamic as the products he oversees. So let's dive into his flavorful world. Hi, Nanto. Welcome to our podcast, Durian Dreaming. We are very thrilled to have you here with us.
Hey, Neha. Thank you for inviting me to this podcast.
It's a pleasure, Nanto. So, Nanto, let's start at the beginning. What's the story behind your leap from Procter Gamble to Kino Indonesia? I mean, was it like a calculated move, a gut feeling, or something else entirely?
Okay. I think it's more of a career choice that I made, right? And I think it's about time that I make a progress moving out of Procter Gamble. Everybody was, I think, recruited from the university in Procter, and it feels like our home, right? And then when you felt a bit older, a bit wiser, then you probably think that it's time for you to move out of the house, right? So it's probably more of like that for me. So after spending a good, I think, 17, 18 years there, I found a job in SC Johnson. I stayed in SC Johnson for 8 years, right? And it's also, I think, reflect a career, I think, progression for me. Then after that, I move again to PT Kino, which is a local company now. So it's all about, I think, staying true to my career objective. I would like to become a leader of an organization, right? That's why I moved from Procter to SCJ and then to Kino now.
All right. Nanto, you very rightly pointed out, Procter & Gamble is like a university. And once you feel that you've graduated from it, maybe it's time to move on from there. So tell me something, what's one curveball Kino threw at you that even your P&G experience couldn't prepare you for? And how did you handle it?
I understand. I think the biggest difference between the two, of course, is between like a giant global FMCG to a local company, right? So the culture itself is different. The people that you need to deal with is different. Then, of course, the challenge is different as well, Neha. Having said that, I thought I come with my eyes wide open, meaning like I said to myself, like I prepare for anything, but then it's very different, right? When you in a local company like Kino that is still want to transform themselves, right, to become maybe in the future a giant FMCG, then the story is different, right? We have system, but then again, it's not as robust as Procter, for instance. We have people, but maybe not as capable as the other FMCG might have, right? So I guess it's not about technical matters, but it's more about, I think, mental challenge, so to speak, right? That you need to be ready for a change, you need to be ready for a challenge, right? That probably you never experienced before, Neha.
Right. Nanto, you mentioned that all these jumps in your career from Procter & Gamble to SC Johnson and then to Kino is because you wanted to lead an organization and yet be true to your career objectives. Now tell me, how did your time at P&G mold your leadership style? Are there any golden rules you picked up there that you still swear by?
Yeah, I still pick up, of course, what I learned, right? And then I always like mention this as part of my first day onboarding, right? When they asked me to introduce myself, I always mention it, Neha. So I always said that I'm a people manager person. I'll be more of a person that probably kind of like step back, thinking with, begin with in mind, if we have problem, then what is this problem and what are we trying to solve, So it's a combination between systemic, more of a systemic, I would say. Then last but not least, I guess I always say to them that I am more of a team member rather than a leader, right? So I would like to get involved in the process or in the meeting rather than for them, to try to solve things by themselves. Then later on, they involve me a bit too late. Hence, we need to have a rework, right? So I always mention that three things, Neha, when I join, I think, a new organization.
All right. Nanto, you moved from P&G to SC Johnson, still in a global MNC, right? Right. And Nanto, from SC Johnson, then you moved to a local giant in FMCG, right? So how does your Indonesian heritage shape your decision making or inspire you when creating products for the local market?
Okay. I couldn't agree more to your statement, right? That I really kind of like leverage on me being Indonesians, right? I always when I talk about products, right? I use both lens, right? I use my company lens, but I'm also using my own consumer lens, right? So whenever we are innovating products, right, I always speak to myself how will this product perceived by the Indonesian consumers, right? Then, for instance, right, we are in the food and beverage business, right? And what I know, and then I think it's being confirmed by the studies, that it's all about taste, right? Then my palette is basically Indonesian consumer palette, right? So I really try to leverage on that one.
Okay.
But having said that, I think creating product is one, right? But commercializing the product and then try to present that to the consumer is a different, different story as well, Neha, right? So I need to make sure that I price it right, I distribute it into the right channel so that it can, reach to the right consumer as well, right? So yeah, I really, fully leverage on my Indonesian's background in that case.
So Nanto, and like you said, you capitalize or fully use your local taste palette, being an Indonesian. But food and beverage industry is a very different industry compared to the industries you've worked or you moved from, like a P&G or SCJ. So what gets you out of bed every morning when it comes to food and beverage industry? I mean, what's the magic you see in it?
I think the biggest difference that I see, Neha, is that the size of the category is very big. The turnover is very big. So it's a completely different ball game. It's so everything moves very fast, So I think that is what strike me the most when I move into F&B, right? I know it's big, but I heard about it, but experiencing it myself is very different, right? So I need to keep up, with the different dynamic. The decision that I make, I think, is going to make a very big difference in terms of value, for instance, right, for the company. And then the pace of the category itself, the expectation of the customers is very different as well. Leave alone, I think the choice that the consumer has, right, on this category is very different as well. Because to be fair, I think non-food, of course, we have many brands, right? But nevertheless, there will be at the end, the top 5 brands, I think, is going to own, the bigger chunk of the business. While in the F&B business, I think there are more players, for the same size of, portfolio.
But, Kino, while is a local giant, but it's a global company, the kind of product range that you all have. So balancing global trends with local flavors, I mean, it sounds like walking a tightrope. So how do you find that sweet spot when crafting new products?
Okay. I think I probably need to speak from the point of view of food and beverage specifically.
Right.
I think other than water and maybe coffee or tea, right? But the preference of every consumers, I would argue, may vary between one country to another, right? For instance, in Indonesia, it's all about taste. They know that sugar is not good, but they really like teh manis, for instance, right? As you know it, right? And they always drink coffee with sugar, right? So I would argue if it boils down to F&B business category, it's very local. Yeah. They may be I think a few brands, big brands like Coke that can cater, I think, to everybody in the world, right? But I would argue if you kind of like, maybe you need to check the numbers, right? But I would argue that maybe, I think, only true for 50% of the business, right? The other 50% is very diverse and very local.
Okay. But consumers are always evolving, right? What's been the biggest behavioral shift you have noticed in recent years, and how is Kino adapting to it?
Okay. So what I understand is that the economy is, the GDP is improving, which is great for Indonesian. When they have money, then they would like to experience something new, right, Neha? So, and then they have money now, right, to try something new. So they look for a new products, right? They either they went out for dinner to a nice cafe, right? Or if they go for grocery, they will look for a new product offering in the markets, right? So that is, I think, one thing that is very different recently. Previously, I think, as you know, like for instance, if I pick, I think, the mineral water, it used to be like dominated by one brand. Now there are more players, right? Same with tea, for instance, right? Used to be like one big mega brand, but now there is challengers, right? So looking at that, I think dynamic, we need to make sure that, I think, if you are the market leader, then you need to protect your turf, right? You need to protect your shares. And for you to be able to do that, you need to stay relevant to the evolving, I think, consumer need that you mentioned. While, of course, you need to protect, or you can continue leverage on your top selling SKU, right? But you always need to think ahead that this consumer, right, you need to continue recruiting new consumers every day, right? That's when the new product, I think, play a key roles. Not just, I think, trying to kind of like leverage on the same product all over again.
So as a leader or as a leader at Kino, what's the most rewarding part of your role? I mean, what's that this is why I do what I do moment for you?
I think it always boils down to the impact that you have on the business and then your people, Neha, right? Okay. I think I can definitely say that the past, I think 2 years, right, has been very rewarding. Time flies very fast. When I came in, we are under a transformations. We are changing the business model. Now, I think the model itself is already in progress, and then is already starting to make an impact, right? We are recruiting more people. We are, I think, improving people capabilities, right? We are seeing people, I think, delivering better result every day. So that is one in terms of the people side. But on the business side, what I'm also happy to see is that with this change, we are starting to kind of like turn around the business, and then we are starting to launch new product. And then we have, with the new model, we have the right platform, to nurture every NPL that we launch.
Nanto, I really appreciate your clarity and depth of your explanation. It just brings into perspective. You have built teams and nurtured teams across your career. Is there any secret formula or secret sauce for inspiring creativity and keeping the team spark alive? And is it different from the F&B industry versus the other industries?
I'll answer the last part first. Okay. I think people are the same, Neha. I think regardless of the industry, I think the industry itself is different. And then that, I think, will just translate into different business challenge, right? But managing team, I think, I will say there are more similarities other than differences, right? So it always starts with, I think, finding the right person. And when I say the right person, it's not just the smartest, right? But I think the right fit for the job, right? And for the challenges that you have. Okay. I started with telling them, what I would like to see happening, and I try to onboard them, right? Then after that, it's all about, I think, more of enabling them, making sure that they have the right capability, making sure that they have the right support. You need to be committed, to do this, right? I have around 150 people, right? So even if it is a lower staff person, that I would like to have the final interview, for instance, right? I have one-on-one with, I think, most people, right? then I make sure, like I mentioned to you, I talk to them, and then I try to kind of like communicate my vision, because I want that vision to become a shared vision as well. Yeah.
Okay. Nanto, everyone makes mistakes
Mm,
when they start with their career journey. What's one from early on in your journey that
mm.
turned into a lesson that you still carry with you?
Okay. I think it was back to when I was still in Procter, right? Um, um, I think it's not about a mistake, but I think it's more about a challenge.
Okay.
I think, just for a record, I started as finance, Neha, and then I moved to sales after 5 years in Procter. And I thought the change is going to be very smooth, right? You just change, I think, a role, then like you can took off from there, right? It's
Mm.
not, right? You need to really earn uh, your your place on the table, right? You need to really gain your competencies. You really need to earn. You need to learn, and then really earn your how do you call it, competencies. Uh, I think that is the biggest challenge, right? I That's what I carry to myself. That uh, experiences, right? I value experiences a lot.
What's a funny or a surprising moment from your career that still makes you laugh?
Oh, funny. I think I have a lot. Uh, uh, Again, let me go back to a very, I think, early days of my career. And then, of course, me being finance, we need to negotiate, a term of payment in that case, right? And I said, this is how it works, when we ship the product, you receive, blah, 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 then you need to pay,
Yeah.
But they said that, no, our way is different, right? They have a very different, I think, process, right? Yeah. So, like finance to finance, right? We, like, of course, try to show our leadership, right? We move forward to the drawing board, right? And then, like mentioned, like this is the date, right? So when you receive this, and then 30 days after that, you need to pay something
Yeah.
like that, right? Then after a while, the funny thing is that my sales director at that time, right? And then the customer and kind of like intervene, right? Saying that, guys, we are not here to kill each other, we are trying to make business, right? Said that there will be like different point of view, right? But I think we need to reconcile. That's when I kind of like, it really strikes me, Neha, right? It's funny in a way, but also very insightful that you cannot just like push your point of view, right?
Yeah.
You need to represent the company and the interest, and then the what the company wants, right? But the same, I think, applies to the other persons, right? They just trying to do their job, right? Then if you kind of like insist on each other's point of view, and then not try to meet halfway, right? Then nothing gets done. That's when I think one of the moment that also attract me to sales now, to be very fair.
All right. Well, that's a good example. No, that's a very unique perspective, Nanto, and thanks for
Mm,
sharing that with us. Before we wrap up, one last question.
mm.
What's the legacy you want to leave behind in the consumer goods industry?
I think it's more of this is maybe a bit personal, Neha. For me, it's not so much about the numbers or the reputations, right?
Mm.
The legacy that I would like to leave behind, Neha, is basically the impact that I will have on each person that I work with.
Okay.
Uh, this is exactly the pledge that I make to to my teams, right, on day one, like I mentioned, right. I always said to them, I would like to leave the legacy in the business, meaning that I impact the business, but most importantly in the relationship and then the person career. Neha. I would like to be remembered by everyone that used to work for me, that Nanto did this to them. Either I helped them with their career, either I helped them during their toughest time, either I make certain impact, right? But I want them to be able to call out exactly a specific moment, specific impact that I have on them. So that's why I said that it's more for me, and then it's maybe more personalized rather than, I think, a reputation in general, Neha.
Right. And today, like how beautifully and in simple words, you answered this question. Usually when you ask about the legacy to leave behind, people may dwell a bit more, maybe go on the number side. But the way you explained it, I mean, you have a knack for making complex things sound so simple. Absolutely love the answers.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Nanto, for sharing your incredible journey,
Most
insights,
welcome.
and truly memorable stories with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I'm sure our listeners are walking away inspired and ready to look at the consumer goods world in a whole new light, just like I am. So thanks once again, Nanto, for being a part of Durian Dreaming.
Hey, thank you for inviting me again.
And that's a wrap for this episode of Durian Dreaming. I hope today's discussion sparked some new ideas for you. Don't forget to subscribe, share your thoughts, and stay tuned for more exciting stories. Until next time, keep dreaming big.